Hello ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start this week out with some Elite Dangerous news. Tomorrow, of course, we have the planned release of Update 14, and with that, this big narrative event that Frontier has said will come here towards the end of the year. Now, I haven't seen any specific times for expected downtimes and stuff like that, but usually with these patches, we can expect the servers to be down for the majority of the day, at least daytime, EU time. But I haven't seen any expected downtime, so I'm just expecting it to be down most of the day. And this is also a very good point to just remind you guys, if you haven't done so already, back up your key bindings. As we know, sometimes these updates, they can mess up your key bindings. If you don't want to sit and spend 2 hours or how long it takes you to redo your key bindings, back them up now. There are other things that you may consider to do if you haven't done already, and that is to transfer your account over to PC if you play on console. Frontier has said that with Update 14, they're going to stop doing console transfers. So that means that if you haven't done your console transfer yet, do it now. Like right now. You might have, I don't know if it's actually too late now, but you, when this video goes out, but go do it. Get that transfer in. Because they said they're going to open for it again. It may be with a limited scope, they said, so maybe not as much going to be able to transfer over. I don't know what, but at least for now, it's going to be shut down. They might start up, as I said, in the beginning of next year. Now, the reason why Frontier is not doing console transfers for the foreseeable future is because they are doing another very noticeable change to the way that Elite is run on PC. And that is that the PC Galaxy is now being split into two, basically. There's now going to be two different versions of Elite Dangerous. Going forward from Update 14, we are going to be working on what Frontier is calling a live version of the game and a legacy version of the game. The legacy version of the game is everyone still playing Horizon on the 3.8 graphic engine. That's the old graphic engine, the one we got before before Odyssey. If you're still playing on that, that version of the game is now considered legacy. And what that means is that it's going to have a complete cutoff from the existing Galaxy. And that means that from tomorrow when the patch launches, basically what's going to happen is your account, everybody's account is going to be split. It's going to be two copies of the same account now. One copy is going to be in the legacy platform. One copy is going to be on the new live platform. And the live platform is either Horizon on the 4.0 version of the code, or of course Odyssey. So both Horizon 4.0 and Odyssey is considered live, but the old graphic engine is now considered legacy. And these two copies of the characters no longer going to have any anything to do with each other. They're going to be completely separate accounts. And that means if you log into Legacy and you do some things, you move your character, you sell some ships or upgrade some ships, those things will not be affected on the other account. And that also means that the old version of the game, the 3.8 version of the game, is going to be cut off from the market. It's going to be cut off from BTS actions, everything. It's going to be a completely separate airtight version of the game that Frontier is going to keep alive, and I'm expecting that they're going to keep the lights on over there for now, but in a year, 2 years, something like that, I would expect Frontier to say that they're going to close down the legacy version. They haven't announced that, but that's just my expectations. As a lot of you guys have pointed out already, and this has caused quite a bit of discussions because it does create some issues. Because you see, right now, we have a lot of people still maybe on console who want to continue to play on console. And they're of course going to be playing now in what's being called the legacy version. So even though they're playing on console and maybe if they haven't done the transfer, if they're playing on console, they're going to have their account is going to be copied over, going to be split as well. And that means that their fleet carriers is going to be existing in the live version of the game, but there's not going to be an account attached to it. That means all of a sudden we're going to have this fleet of fleet carriers spread out across the bubble, where there's basically no account attached to it. And that means they're just sitting there basically being derelict or abandoned fleet carriers. And eventually they are going to be automatically decommissioned, but they're only going to be decommissioned when people's accounts, even though they're not there, but the account is there, but there's no account holder for it, when they run out of money. Now, people myself included, I have probably 2 or 3 years worth of money stored on my fleet carrier, so I don't have to worry about upkeep. That means that if I was in this situation where I suddenly got split off and my fleet carrier got copied to a version of the game where I have no access to it, like Legacy, for instance, my fleet carrier is going to sit there. It's going to sit there for 2 years or something like that until it runs out of money in Legacy. And the same thing is going to be true in the live version. There's going to be all these abandoned carriers that could sit there for years, burning money until they run out. Now, why is that a problem? Because there's plenty of space around. The problem arises mainly with places like Rackham's Peak. Now, Rackham's Peak is this system that's like way out of the galactic plane. And in order to get there, you need to fly by fleet carrier because the distances between the systems out there is so great that you have to jump by fleet carrier. And herein lies the problem. Because a lot of some console commanders got very angry with the Frontier over the fact that they would not allow them to play Odyssey. That it was basically abandoned, that they felt abandoned, which, well, they are, especially now that they're playing in Legacy. And what they did to protest was they parked their fleet carriers on this specific route of systems you have to jump through in order to get to Rackham's Peak. And if they fill up just one of those systems with console fleet carriers, that means that the route up to Rackham's Peak is forever going to be blocked because people can't get through that system because it's blocked by abandoned fleet carriers. That means that effectively Rackham's Peak could be shut off from access. Now, one thing is people who's getting shut off from access getting up there, but if there's people on the other side, they are going to be shut off from access ever getting back. They can't get, I mean, they can suicide maybe, and then they might spawn their fleet carriers, but they might be able to find a way to get back to the bubble, but nope, they're never going to get their fleet carrier out of there. The only way they're going to get the fleet carrier out is to completely decommission it, wait for it to be decommissioned, you get the money into your account, well, some of it, and then you have to buy it again in the bubble. I haven't seen if Frontier is going to address anything with this. Like, an ideal solution would be to remove those fleet carriers completely, but I don't know what Frontier is going to be doing about it, or if they're just gonna basically let Rackham's Peak be inaccessible. I don't know exactly how bad it is up there. I know I wanted to make a trip up there a while back, but had to change destination because the route up there was just too crowded. So it was just an ongoing traffic jam, making it impossible for me to get a fleet carrier up there. So I decided to change destination and go someplace else. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for now, at least, I could see that becoming a potential upcoming problem, that it's going to be very difficult getting in and out of Rackham's Peak because of the traffic jam of dead fleet carriers sitting there blocking the way. Now let's move over to Star Citizen. We of course now getting towards the end of this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, and as always, we've got a number of new ships. Ships that I haven't mentioned in Hello Dave yet. We got the C8R Pisces, a medical version of the Pisces. I did showcase this doing one of my live streams last week. Very fun little ship. I mean, it's a Pisces, so it's a good little ship, but instead of a cargo room at the back, you have some small cargo space, you now have a medical bed and a small little interface where you can go and you can heal people up. So I think it's one of the smallest, I think it is the smallest ship so far with a medical bed in. And they made it slightly faster than the other Pisces, the original exploration version of the Pisces, making it a really good little ambulance ship, and especially one that can take it to maybe a bigger ship with a better medical facilities for more severe injuries. But that ship has gone straight to flyable, and you can now go ahead and you can test that in the game. I believe it is still actually in the final days of the week of the expo. I believe it is actually still on display. So you can go and rent it and try it if you haven't done so already. We also had a new ship that went into concept. This is the RSI Galaxy. It's this relatively big, not quite capital size ship, but it's like sub-capital size ship that's designed to be very modular. Essentially, it is intended to be one of these multi-purpose ships where you have a huge hangar section at the back where that section can be swapped out. So it can either just be like pure on cargo hold. They have a hospital version of it where that whole cargo hold is decked out with medical equipment, and they have a refinery versions, and there are others to come in the future. Now, I'm expecting, I don't know, but I'm expecting that that the ship is supposed to be modular, that you can maybe swap between these different modules. At the time of this recording, at least, they are selling these versions as separate ships. indicating that they may be separate ships, similar to the way we see with the Constellation series of ships, where you have the Phoenix and the Taurus and all those different versions of the Constellation, but where it's basically the same hull, but the interior has different layouts for different purposes. But they are separate, distinct, separate ships, and I don't know if the intention with the Galaxies that's going to be the same, that they're going to be distinctly different versions of the ship, or if it is actually going to be fully modular where things can be swapped out. We've seen this approach a lot lately from CIG, where they're taking one ship and then they're just swapping out the guts of it, if you will, to make the ships fit different purposes. We saw it with the Crusader Spirit, where we have the bomber version, of the passenger version, and then a cargo version also, where you have these different versions of the same ship, where just sections, a small section of the interior has been swapped out. I'm not sure if this means that this is something that CIG is going to move towards in the future, where we're going to have these larger ships that's going to be able to basically have a modular section of the ship that you can pull out and swap out with another, depending on what you need the ship to do. Basically refit it for other purposes in a similar manner that you refit it for new weapons or better quantum drive and stuff like that. Not sure if that's the point, if that's the direction they want to go, but we've seen it now on 2 different ship launches, and it's beginning to look like a trend to me. So we'll see with upcoming ship launches if they're doing something similar here, because if they are, I'm expecting that they're going to be working towards options for having ships swap out internal components. And we also have some more good news from Star Citizen. This year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, even though there are still 3 days, at least at the time of this recording, 3 days left of the expo, it has already surpassed the number of new players from last year's expo, making a new record. I believe, at least at the time of this recording, there was 87,000 new players, new accounts created in Star Citizen who signed up and has been playing during this expo. One thing I thought that was interesting was to see the average, how much was average spent on each account doing the expo here, which is significantly lower than last year. And I think that has something to do with the fact that a lot of the ships that has been announced this year is starter size ships. We have the Pisces, which is, well, the Pisces is technically a starter ship. And we also had the Drake Cutter, which is also a starter sized ship you could buy with a game pack. But it's great to see a lot of new players coming into the game, and just shows that the game is still going strong. And with 3.18 around the corner, it should be exciting times to come. Finally, live stream tomorrow. Obviously, with update 14 in Elite Dangerous, we are going to be jumping into that and checking out what Frontier has in store for us. This is going to be one of those where you're going to be heading in, just see what happens. It's going to be a little unplanned and just take things as they come. And we all know the saying, never stream or never play on patch days. I'm going to do it anyway. So depending on when the patch exactly goes live, I might go live a little earlier than usual. It also means I likely will be streaming a little longer than usual. I don't exactly know. I'm going to see how the day evolves tomorrow, and when I'm home, if there's a patch, I'm going to go live early. If the patch is not live by 8 o'clock GMT, where I usually start my live streams, depending on how close we are to a launch, I might either postpone the stream a little bit, or I might just go live if we can sit and chit-chat and talk a little bit before the live stream. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to take it as it comes, but just know that there's going to be a live stream tomorrow. I might start early, depending on when the patch goes live. That's it for today. Thanks all for watching, and until next time, see you guys in space.